1460 WVOX.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WVOX.
Hey, Racing for Heroes fans. It is February 18th, 2022. We're here on WVOX 1460 AM or worldwide at WVOX.com and streaming live on Facebook as well. We have two guests today. Both are talking about the same issue, which is the suicide epidemic that is facing the veteran community in the United States. For at least the past decade, there's been about 22 veteran suicides per day on average. 22 too many, obviously. And this particular weekend coming up is Suicide Awareness Weekend. So I challenge anyone out there listening, reach out to a veteran, do a buddy check. Even if you're not a veteran, just reach out to someone who you know who might be in the military and just check on how they're doing. You might be the person that makes a difference. With that, we have Johnnymomedia, Moser, U.S. Air Force veteran, who works with Save 22, a nonprofit devoted to reducing the veteran suicide rate from 22 a day and hopefully ending it in our lifetime. Johnny, how's it going, my man?
What's up, Brett? Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks. I know you were on not too long ago, but it's really important because this is Suicide Prevention Weekend, and in the middle of the winter, when it's kind of people are enclosed in and the pandemic's still kind of ongoing and people are stuck, it's now's the time to reach out.
Oh, absolutely. Any day when, I'm not only an advocate for Save 22, I'm a client. They saved my life just over 5 years ago now. I had been retired for a year and just couldn't handle it. And I had never thought like I was thinking that day. And a friend of mine, I remember him saying that he worked with this organization. So I called him and told him what went down. And he says, man, we'll get through it. We will get through it, and we will get through it together. And, I haven't forgotten that. And, I wasn't fixed right away, but man, I sure am a whole heck of a lot better than I was 5 or 6 years ago. So big thanks to Save 22. And I'll do anything I can for any veteran or any individual for that matter that reaches out and says, man, I just don't know what to do.
And it doesn't matter what rank you were, or how long you were in, or how short you were in. I mean, this can affect all of us. I served 20 years. I know you served about the same amount of time. I think I know I'm getting this wrong, but you were a master sergeant in the Air Force as a C-130 flight engineer, right?
Correct.
I think that's the first time I got an Air Force rank correct. The enlisted ranks are confusing to me. I was in the Navy too long, I guess. But but those are sort of things I think is important, and sometimes I think that even the more senior of us who've been in, because we've seen so much more, and because your entire career you've had the sort of suck it up and move on perspective on things, you keep it internalized.
Yeah, I like to say on my podcast that it doesn't matter if you were a combat veteran, you pulled the trigger, you're decorated, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, triple amputee, or the supply guy who, never left, the green zone or never deployed or whatever. We all have different experiences. We all have different levels of our ability to deal with trauma, right? And whether that trauma is, I think it was a 7.8 earthquake in
wow.
I can't even remember what the Green Tree, California, when I was out there, or the remnants of a hurricane in 2000 or wherever I was, 91. Jeez, man, I'm so old I can't remember what year things are.
It's the first thing that goes, brother, in your brain.
It's crazy. Or you were blown up, and you're holding your buddy's, life in your hands. We all have different levels. We've missed birthdays, we've signed letters, we've wrote letters, we've stuck them in an envelope and put them in a special spot in our tent or our uniform or our billet and told someone, very close to us that, hey man, if I don't come back, I need you to do this for me.
Mm-hmm.
That can be hard on people. And you don't have to be this combat hardened, injured individual to feel like that. My experience was after 23 and a half years, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what my purpose was, right? My counselors were talking to me saying, look, all you got to do is be a husband and a father. I said, you haven't been listening to me because I don't know how to be a husband and a father. I know how to be a flight engineer. I know how to be a first sergeant. I know how to help these guys. I don't know how to help my own kids. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And it took a while, but you know, talking with other vets and with the Save 22 community and going to events like the hike, which the hike is the first weekend in May this year.
Yeah, May
Our
7th,
sixth
right?
hike in our 7th year. Yeah, May 7th.
And where's
You
that
know,
going to be
meeting-
before I let you go on? Where is that going to be? Tell
So
us.
that's going to be at the Carroll County Vets Club, May 7th. We're going to start opening early, and I think the hike's going to kick off at 10 or 11. I don't have the
Wait, Carroll County,
particulars in front of
which
me,
state?
but
Which state, Johnny?
Carroll County, Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah, and if you want to donate to that or sign up for it or volunteer to help out, all that info is going to be on the website, www.save22.vet, Victor Echo Tango, and you can have all that information. Come out and see us. We've had people come from as far as California to this event for us, man. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Gotcha. And that's again, it's Caroline County out in Ohio. And I got to give you props for rattling off the phonetic alphabet without missing a beat. You know, you can always tell who the guys who are in the military versus like the police, because they use like the old World War II style phonetic alphabet sometimes. So I always think it's funny. You know, when and for us, it's so part of what you say. Like I'll just say like things like Lima 9 and stuff like that. And people look at you like I'm like, dude, L9 Lima. Oh, okay. So anyway.
Well, hey, you know, my civilian job has to deal with air traffic, so the air traffic phonetic alphabet is even different from the
Is it
alphabet
really?
that I grew up on. It is. It's got a few changes, and there's tree instead of 3 and niner instead of 9.
Oh, because they do the
instead of
intercode
5.
stuff. Yeah, that's right. They do the international code,
There's
right?
Yep.
That is
I mean,
true.
ICAO standards, so it's
That
a
is
little
true.
bit different.
Yep. And Uno 1 for one, it was like some other weird one like that.
Uh,
Hey, but Save 22 actually is also involved in racing, right? Because you guys sponsor IGY6 Motorsports, and that's like F4.
It is F4 FR America Series with Hayden Bowsby. And just a little side note: if you see Hayden today, give him a little handshake and a tap on the back, man. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday to my buddy Hayden. Save 22 is proud to sponsor him. He's a great kid with a heck of a head on his shoulders. His first win in the F4 series actually came last year on Veterans Suicide Awareness Weekend in Ohio, which is the first weekend in May, the same day as the Save 22 hike. It was really, really special. I'm proud to be part of that one. I was one of his mechanics that day.
Oh,
so,
really cool. Well, you'll have to have
it
him
was
on the
really
show.
cool.
Yeah, next time you see him, like tell him he's got to be on.
You bet. I'll forward you his info, man.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, that's
happy to do it
amazing.
for us.
That's amazing. And then
Yeah,
you
no
also
doubt.
have a relationship with Xfinity team, and I know that they're rolling out the next gen cars here this weekend.
Well, that's in the Cup. I don't think.
Oh, in the Cup series, yeah.
Yep, the Xfinity cars are still the same as last year with a few changes. But I got to give a shout out to Mike Harmon Racing with the number 74 and 47 teams. Mike Harmon has been a staple in NASCAR for, well, I want to say like 38 or 40 something years now. And he and his team give so much support to the veteran community. One of his PR people, Karen, is absolutely amazing. Her husband, James, is a recent retiree from the Navy. They do a lot for us veterans. Last year, they got us down to the Xfinity race in Daytona. We were able to bring a couple of veterans who had suffered a tragic loss or were victims of the 22. And I say victims because, you know, when a vet or anyone commits suicide, the real victims are the ones left behind. We try to take the family or the close friends or the spouse or whatever to these events and try to get them out of their shell and show them something that they may have never, ever been part of before. And Mike Harmon Racing and Karen down there have done a fantastic job with making the people feel wanted and welcome and showing them a great time. Bailey Curry last year, he's moved on to another team this year, but Bailey Curry was heavily involved last year with spending time with our people that we bring down and just having a good time at a NASCAR race. And I think we got to 6 races last year with Karen and the team. But man, we're really proud of that relationship. really, really, really
No, and
big kudos to Mike Harmon.
Yeah, and I think that you highlight an important thing, which is that, you know, we all know someone who has been affected, right? And it's the survivors of that are the ones left behind that you really need to
Right.
reach out to and try to help them get back up to speed. Like, and listen, it'll never be back the way it was, you know, or normal in the way it was, but you know, we all have an obligation to do that outreach. And that kind of leads me to kind of the real question is, what should people be doing to try to help with a veteran that they might feel is not, you know, maybe depressed, or, you know, may even have suicidal ideations?
So first things first, I can tell you is listen, right? Listen to what he or she is saying. If they're constantly negative, if they're constantly talking about how much debt they're in, how they don't think they're ever going to get out of that debt, or how horrible my relationship is, or I just can't seem to mesh with my kids, I have nothing in common, and all I want to do is drink, or they're getting excessively drunk more than they had before, or they start trying other substances, you know, just listen, and then be sincere when you ask. Listen, is everything okay? For real, like for real, tell me, are you okay? Do you need anything? What can I do to help you? Can I just listen? Can I guide you in a direction? You know, what can I do to help you? One of the greatest things that ever happened to me is my good friend Gordo. We were down in Nashville, and he could tell that I was just not comfortable. We were I think we were at Kid Rock's bar, and it was packed.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm not a big crowd fan. I'm sober. Well, let me get this straight. I don't drink anymore, and I wasn't comfortable in that giant crowd and the packedness and how young everybody was and the excitement. And he just put his hand on my arm as we were sitting at the table, and he just goes, "Hey, what can I do?" And it kind of caught me off guard, but it made me feel so comfortable because he knew that I wasn't comfortable. He said, "Hey, what can I do? Can we move tables? Can I get you some water?" You know, little things like that, man, will go a long way. We're vets. We're not out looking for somebody to hold our hand and wipe our butts, right? We just want somebody to understand, and don't forget, right? Don't forget, we're not necessarily the same person that we were when we left, and we might not be violent and temperamental and stuff, but we just might not feel like we can engage, like we are a part of anything anymore. And we're going to need a little help getting back into that.
And, you know, we're kind of getting to the last minute of the segment. And if I think I'm out of my depth and I need some help, you know, to help engage with that veteran, who do I look to, or where can I go? Like, where's some resources?
There are over 22,000 veteran organizations, veteran nonprofits in the country right now. There is something for everyone, everywhere. Our site is www.save22.vet. You can also call our toll-free number at 1-833-I-SAVE-22. The Veterans Crisis Line is out there as well. I don't have that one in front of me. I apologize.
But if you Google it, it'll come up. So
you can Google it. It'll come up. You know what? I just did something yesterday. I typed in veteran suicide, and the first thing that popped up was the Veterans Crisis Line.
100%.
Right. If you feel that it's an emergency right then and there, like they're gonna crack, or they have cracked or popped, and they're committed to hurting themselves, please call 911.
Yep.
Your local law enforcement organizations usually have a veteran coordinator with them, I guess you'd say, or a person of interest that they call when they have a problem with the veteran. I'm on the list for a couple local police stations. Some of the Save 22 guys are on the list down in Carroll County. You know, we're all over the place. Save22.vet. There's plenty of organizations out there. Broken Arrow Adventure here in Ohio. They take guys out that are into the sport and into outdoor activities. There's Ride with Honor up in Cleveland that does a lot with veterans to help them with their homes and home repairs. There's Hogs Helping Heroes down here in Carroll County as well.
Yeah, they're great.
You know, they're fantastic. They'll help you fix a garage door,
All right,
right? Pay a water.
John, I gotta do a check fire, man. But
okay, brother.
Yeah, and listen, and if you have Straight Talk with Johnny Mo is on iHeartRadio. So if you want to hear more from Johnny Mo, please, that's where to go, right, Johnny?
Absolutely. STR8CALK podcast with Johnny Mo.
Yep. All right, brother. Hey, thank you for everything
Thanks,
you do,
man.
and I'll call you a little later today. All right, thanks, my friend. All right, everyone. That was Johnny Moser, U.S. Air Force veteran, works for Safe 22. Please check him out. Go to his Facebook page and check out his iHeart radio station. Our next guest is Douglas Taurel. He's been on as well before. He is a producer and performer of the one-man show called The American Soldier, a play that reveals American soldiers' struggles when they return from war and honors them and their families and their immense sacrifices. He'll be performing his show up here in Bedford, New York on March 3rd. And there's going to be a fundraiser associated with that for veteran suicide and how they can help with equine therapy. With that, Doug, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, nice to talk to you again, Brett.
It sounds great. Yeah, no, thanks for being here. Listen, I know you've been super busy since we last talked, I think about 6 months ago. Tell us what's going on with American Soldier.
Well, still performing and sharing the stories across the country. I mean, last year in 2021, I hit 5 or 6 cities. And this year will be Bedford's the first show of this year. And then after Bedford, I go to Tracy, California, and then Champaign, Illinois, Duna, Illinois, and potentially Wisconsin and Michigan.
And it's at the Bedford Playhouse, I'm assuming, up in Bedford, right?
Yeah, it's at Bedford Playhouse, and it's a great group. And, kind of picking back off your last guest, that they raise money, they help vets with equine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of times, something that I've learned in my Q&As after the show, we always do a Q&A. And in many ways, the play becomes a moderator for a lot of the vets, allows them to open up and share their stories. And some of the things that vets have shared with me over the years that I've kind of picked up off of them is, sometimes talking to a therapy works for a certain vet,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes equine therapy works for a vet, sometimes it doesn't. Canine, there's many forms of therapy for a vet to look out to.
Racing cars, right.
Yeah, and just, the things a lot of the guys and girls have shared with me is when they feel the urge, they want to give up, that you want to fight that. You want to fight that urge to give up and just find another form of therapy and find a group. A lot of vets have shared with me that, you've got to look for groups that you fit with, groups. There's a lot of, obviously groups that help vets transition out of the military and come back and how to deal with PTS, and find a group that kind of fits you and fits your sensibilities well, and that you're into, maybe they go fishing, maybe they go hunting, maybe they do a lot of running or exercise,
Mm-hmm.
It's just a really, just because one form of looking for help doesn't work, doesn't mean that help doesn't work. You've got to keep fighting on. And that's what I've learned. And so that's what we're doing. So we're raising money for up in Bedford, so March 3rd. And it's a really great group. I mean, they do amazing stuff. And they're really, I don't know if anybody knows about equine therapy. I mean, they really get vets. They really help them a lot with transitioning out of military and dealing with PTS. No drugs or anything. It's just basically talking to a horse.
Yeah, well, horses are one of those animals that has a symbiosis with humans because of the way they've been domesticated. And, they are, such a large animal, but they're also one that is kind of looking to the human for, if you will, like what they're going to do. So it's a very unique thing.
Yeah, no, it really is. They, I did the show. I've been there twice already, and it's been they're big fans of the play and how it allows people to open up and as you know, and as I've shared with you before and on my past interviews, the play is a voice for veterans. The script itself is based on their words, on their own words, and so that's find it really they're able to connect with it. But when I was there in 2018. They allowed me to experience equine therapy, and it is a complete trip. We all have our scars from life,
sure.
Growing up, and they put me there with this huge horse. I mean, and that's the thing about horses, when you get up close to a horse, they're intimidating because they're so powerful, and you're just kind of, if it wants to push you around, it has no problem. And this was an ex-Olympic horse that couldn't, wasn't able to compete because of some injuries. So they used it as a therapy horse. And I just sat there and talked to him about my issues growing up and what I had. And man, it's amazing how the horse, it starts following you around. It nubs you with its nose, and then it mimics the way you walk, and then it just, I mean, you can't help but feel safe with it. I mean, you just want to tell it all your intimate stories. And what's really powerful.
Well, Mr. Ed could talk back, so you never know. I'm kidding.
But the thing is, it's not going to judge you, and that's the powerful thing. No matter what you say, it's not going to give you a dirty look. It's not going to, it's not going to be like, oh, can't believe you did that, or really it's your fault. So you feel safe with it, and it's amazing. And I'm sure, some vets, they say the same thing about canines. I mean, I have a dog. Animals are amazing, and I think it's a form of therapy that I think some of the struggles they have is that the VA doesn't really fund these forms of therapy, and which is a shame because they're really successful and they're really powerful.
They are actually, real quick, there actually was just released an equine therapy grant nationally. So you should have Endeavor Therapeutic reach out to me. I'll at least send it to them.
Okay.
They released two. One was for adaptive sports, which Racing for Heroes is going to be putting in for a race car that's modified for hand controls. But they have the other grant is specific to equine therapy. So please, please.
I'll connect you.
Yeah, please reach out. That'd be awesome. And where is Endeavor Therapeutic out of?
They are. I don't know exactly where they're at. I think they're in Bedford, New York. I don't know the address, but it's right there. I mean, Bedford, as you know, it's not very big. They're on a farm. They have a farm. I can send you the list. I think it's there you go. They're on 556 Croton Lake Road.
Okay.
Croton Lake Road. But the show is at the Historic Hall on March 3rd, and it is an amazing hall. It's an old, revolutionary hall that they restored, and they do, all kinds of special events there. So it's a really special venue. It feels like you're in some revolutionary protest, especially when it's filled. And when I do the revolutionary monologue, it really resonates in there because the building has been around for almost 250 years, and they've got right next to it, they've got a cemetery, and some of the cemetery has actually revolutionary soldiers.
Of course, yeah. So it's such an old city,
really
yeah.
Cool.
Because your show runs the gamut all the way from Revolutionary War to current time, right?
Yeah, it goes from everywhere. It's basically revolution all the way up through the current wars or the recent wars, Afghanistan and Iraq.
No, and I think it's amazing. I tend to read memoirs of World War I veterans. I always find them fascinating. And when you read that stuff, I found the last year. I'll make it quick, but there was a New Rochelle veteran who was a accomplished combat pilot in World War I, ended up serving again in World War II. But I found his great grandson, and they have his letters back to his mom, her great great grandmother, and was basically complaining about all the same stuff they complain about today. But instead of talking about modern fighter jets, he was talking about SPAD fighters from World War II, like the engines don't work, and they have a hard time maintaining them.
I mean, people always ask me after the show, did you find any common themes between, when you're doing your research? And there are a lot of common themes. But,
food, gear.
Well, the main one, all of them complained about was marching. I mean, from the Revolution, Civil War, because marching was used as a form of punishment, as a form of discipline, as a form of control, and they all talked. It was really funny. I mean, they all talked about brotherhood. Brotherhood was one of the themes that really resonated, even from the Revolutionary. From the Minutemen. Ebenezer Fox and Joseph Plum talked about wanting to go back and fight for the people they're brothers in arms.
Absolutely.
And that was very true, obviously, in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right? Because when you have military veterans who serve alongside each other, those bonds are formed in a common experience, which is why those bonds are so strong. I mean, you see it in like families, right? And and that's why the people I served with in the military. I mean, I would tell you that some of them I have a more intimate and personal relationship than even my brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just interviewed Diana Vasquez, my podcast. She was a vet that I met in Granbury, Texas, and she's a Purple Heart recipient and an amazing woman, and very unbelievable woman. And as she shared to me, the bonds that she made with her buddies over there in Iraq and Afghanistan. To this day, she'll never ever be able to recreate that. And that's something I hear all the time. The people who you serve with and who have your back, they're the closest people that you'll ever be connected to. Even more than your partner and your spouse.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, Doug, we are getting literally to the last 30 seconds of the show. If someone wants to go check your stuff out, where do they go?
So you can go to my website, www.theamericansoldiersoloshow.com, if you want to stay connected with future dates. And there you also find the Bedford show, which is on March 3rd. And it starts at 6 o'clock. It's going to be a big gala. They're going to have food. They're going to have reception. It's going to be a big thing. And all the money goes to help vets and raise money for equine therapy. So March 3rd, Bedford, New York, starting at 6 p.m. The curtain opens at 7 p.m. for my show. So
that's awesome.
Check it out.
That's awesome.
Well, great. I really appreciate you letting me share it.
No, and listen, and we're so looking forward to that. And we'll have you check in a few months when you're on the road. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Douglas Taurel. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Well, we'll see you next week right here at WVOX. Enjoy the real Doug Lane. Take us out.